Well, the calendar has flipped again. It is December, and a new sports season is upon us. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Hogan, and welcome to another edition of Prep Huddle Live here on StrivSports.com. It's nice to be back in front of a camera after we took a couple weeks where we had some podcasting that we went on with during the state football tournament, but back to be back here where we should be on this time of year. We're going to put a bow on the fall sports season here tonight. We're also going to take a peek and unwrap the goodies of the winter sports, which will be upon us here shortly. Tony Chapman joins us in Grand Island, befuddled as ever. It's been a heck of a night here, whether we've been at hashtag in Henderson or where Tony is there in Grand Island. Of course, we always bring our guests in via the Truck Center Company's hotline. That hasn't changed. But Tony, the football championships, they've been given out along with volleyball, of course, girls golf, cross country earlier. It's been quite the start to the season for our Striv teams and schools so far. I don't think Tony can hear me because he's I see him it's getting funny.
Now he can.
Now he can? Tony, can you hear me? Now he cannot.
Now he can.
Now I can.
Hey, put your headphones in. We're live, dude.
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Now I got an echo.
Now you got an echo. By the way, you're on the air right now. Can you still hear me?
Should I look excited?
You should look excited. This is the part of the show where you do your little fun intro and say something cool.
Echo.
Not no?
Yes.
Hello?
Echo.
The beauty of live video and audio, folks, is sometimes there just is not enough time to get it right. So we'll work on it as we go through. While we're kind of working with Tony back and forth there in Grand Island, I'll kind of let you know what we're looking at as far as the show lineup today. We'll start with a Striv School recap from the state volleyball tournament from a few weeks ago. We got a great visit with Johnson Brock head coach Tera Stutheit, and excited to hear some of her thoughts on winning the state championship, obviously with the Eagles, and what it's like to try to decompress and then still move on with the rest of the school year. Then, of course, we'll head back to Memorial Stadium, where we had three of our Striv schools that were in the football championships from the 11-man to the 8-man ranks. BDS, of course, coming home victorious in Class D1. And then we'll also take a look at the winter sports, and we will have hopefully, and tonight that's a big knock on wood, that we will be talking with York girls basketball coach Matt Kern coming up a little bit later on tonight. But I think, hopefully, Tony, are you with us yet?
I am here and in the flesh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. If you've got anything to add to that just a little bit as kind of a welcome back for you.
Yeah, thanks. You know, it's obviously December, and so we're excited for the basketball season, which really kind of gets kicked off in full motion tomorrow night. There'll be games around the state starting tomorrow and on our Striv channels, and so we're excited. We've kind of looked at the girls' rankings so far from the Omaha World Herald. Expect those boys' rankings will be out tomorrow, so we'll try to discuss what we have there. And again, as you already mentioned, you caught up with Tera Stutheit. We'll have the interview or replay the interview you had with Chris Artisono and Mark Roeder after BDS won the state championship game. And then we'll get our buddy Matt on the line, hopefully, and talk a little girls hoops. He's got plenty of talent coming back from the state semifinal team in York this year, so it should be a fun winter for his Lady Dukes.
And as we kind of get ready for some volleyball, of course, we want to talk about Johnson Brock. Exeter Milligan was also a champion in Class D2. Other Striv schools that were at the state tournament and coming home with medals were Shadron. They're in C1. They came home third. Hampton was third as well. Shelby Rising City was as close as we got to a Cinderella-type story. They ended up fourth in their class. And then you had Grand Island Northwest, Aurora, Sutton, Millard West, Freeman, Howells Dodge, and Dundee County Stratton all making it to the state tournament. So it was a really, really good volleyball season for a lot of our Striv schools. And speaking of volleyball, before we get into the interview with Coach Tera Stutheit of Johnson Brock, throughout the year, of course, we had Burke Brown with Nebraska Prep Volleyball on with our show many, many times. And we're going to have Burke on here in a couple weeks to really talk about his event. But he put out some details here this evening for the Nebraska Prep Volleyball first annual senior showcase, and it looks like, and I'm just reading this off his website right now, it's going to be coming up on Sunday, December 20th at Omaha Concordia High School is where that will be. 47 seniors were named to the teams, which are broken up by the classification of the school that they're at. So you'll have two different Class A squads, a black and a red squad, featuring 24 girls in Class A. There will be a Class B team and then also a Class C/D team. So the four teams are coached by the staffs of four of the most prominent volleyball clubs in the state: Nebraska Elite, Nebraska Juniors, Performance VBC, and VC Nebraska. So some really great opportunity to see some wonderful talent there on Sunday, December the 20th. And we wanted to highlight just real quick, there were some Striv School kids that are participating in this showcase. Cassidy Loberg of Millard West, who is committed to Central Missouri, will be on the Class A Red Squad. Then in Class B, we had Libby Anthony of Crete. She will be on the Class B squad along with Kylie Hickson of Aurora. She's heading off to South Dakota. You will also see, I think that's it for the Class B girls. And then on the C/D squad, who will be coached by a staff from the Nebraska Juniors team, you'll have Peyton Robley of East Butler. You will see also Emily Lenners of Freeman, who is heading off to Hastings College, and somewhere in Grand Island, Tony is smiling big at that news, of course. But those are the Striv students that are heading off to the Nebraska Prep Volleyball Senior Showcase. And again, that's coming up on Sunday, December 20th. So Burke already gave us a save the date. So it looks like we've had a date change to Sunday the 20th at Omaha Concordia. But Tony, I know this has been something that Burke's put a lot of work into, and we'll really let him kind of delve into it big coming up in a couple weeks on our next show.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you have the NCAA Volleyball Championship in Omaha this year, so that kind of adds even a little more luster to it. I think he was trying to get this event on Friday between the Final Four, the national semifinals, and the finals, which will be Saturday night, the 19th. But the next day, on the 20th, if some people hang around, they'll be able to see some really, really good volleyball up at Omaha Concordia there in the northwest side of Omaha. So that should be exciting and a cool event for those volleyball kids. As many people know, Nebraska puts out as many Division I capita volleyball players as anybody in the nation. So it's high-level volleyball. It should be a neat event.
There was something like I had read on here that there are 14 players in the showcase alone that are going Division I, and 37 of the 47 girls who are scheduled to play in this game, in the showcase, I should say, 37 of the 47 have committed to play volleyball already at the next level. So it's just a remarkable what the state of Nebraska puts out as far as volleyball talent. Speaking of volleyball, let's go back to the Bob Devaney Sports Center in Lincoln here from a couple weeks ago. And, of course, Johnson Brock and their head coach, Tera Stutheit, came home with a championship in the Class D1. And it's been a little bit of time now. Maybe a chance to take a deep breath, although when I talked to Tera earlier today, it was literally in the 10-minute break she had during District 1X. So she's a very busy woman, but very thankful that we had a chance to catch up with her and get her thoughts on the Johnson Brock Eagles this season. We are talking now with Johnson Brock head coach from the volleyball season, because we have almost switched seasons now, Tera Stutheit. And, Coach, we want to go back and say, again, a big congratulations for you and the girls. What a fantastic way to end the season as state champions. Take us through the week that was for state. Obviously, you got a couple days of practice before it just kind of – you just got to go with it, and you got to make some things happen on the fly. But kind of give us a sense of what you and the girls went through that week.
Well, I guess we, just like you said, we just kind of went with it. We didn't have that big, court celebration because we did get in on the wild card. So we were kind of just following Twitter that night of districts, and just making sure everybody won that needed to win. And then we just practiced and just kind of tried to go about things like normal, and do normal everyday practice things. We did do a couple early morning practices in the few days preceding the tournament, because we knew if we won Thursday, we'd play early on Friday, and we didn't stay overnight. We were coming home each night. So it would mean an early morning Friday. And I think that helped, just getting the girls kind of up and in the mornings and know that they can play volleyball early in the morning. So.
Because that's a different kind of mindset to try to get your body to function like that. So now you get to Thursday and it's the first round and there's obviously a lot of emotion. How do you try as a coach to kind of corral what you hope is the right emotions at the right time?
Right. We just told them they had done their job all year. We felt like going in on a wild card to us just meant even more because it just meant our season was that much more meaningful. And so when we got up for that game, we got there, we just said, you guys just need to go play volleyball. You've done it all season long, and this is what we've practiced for, like I'm sure every coach says, But so we just have girls on the team that love to play volleyball, and they could be playing probably any time of day and in front of any amount of people, and they just love to be there and they love to be on the court. And I think that helps so much. So
You get that championship match again with Diller Odell, obviously a team that you were very familiar with. What's it like to get into that championship match and know that on both sides of the bench and on the net, you really kind of should know a lot about each other.
Yeah, we did. We talked about different scenarios, but for the most part, we wanted to play them again. I think it was a little bit, or I was worried, I guess, that it might be a little trickier for the girls just because of the emotions that goes along with playing a team for the fifth time and having split with them. We knew very well what we were up against. They are a tough squad, just really disciplined volleyball team. And, we just told them we know what we need to do. And they just went out, and I think carrying the momentum from the 5-set win that we had in the semifinals, I think that just kind of carried over with us, and they maintained that going into the Diller Odell game.
And then you get to that championship game, of course, and you've got Fallon ends up with 13 kills. You've got Emerson at 10. You've got Caitlin at 9. Mm-hmm. You get some really nice balance, and 39-27 just in kills. So obviously the swings were working for you.
Right, and that balance that you mentioned helped us all season long. We basically had 4 really strong hitters, and we could spread things out. We did have games where 1 or 2 of them were maybe not having their best night, but it didn't necessarily affect us just because we had other places that we could put the ball. And I think that's just was really key for us, all season.
So now you got a chance to maybe decompress a little bit. Anyway, I know you personally are very busy, but as far as the team is concerned, kind of a chance to decompress. What's it like to be able to look back and say, look at what we accomplished, look at what we did all season long?
Yes. Oh, it has just been absolutely phenomenal. We've just had a super great experience. We couldn't ask for better fans. When we're standing there getting ready for the game, we took a second and we just kind of looked at our crowd, and it was just awesome to see so many people from town and from the community be there for that game, and just really every game throughout the whole tournament. We had a great following, and so that helped so much. I know my husband left from town Saturday morning, and he stopped in at our little local grocery store, and they said closing at 9, headed to the volleyball game, So people just really strong support, and that's just continued since we've, in the last couple of weeks or whatever, since we've been back, and everyone is just super supportive and really excited for us.
This is something, so it really was a deal where the last person out of town shut the lights off because everybody else is in Lincoln at the time then, right?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Yep.
So you said that obviously it extends beyond even your season, and now you get to kind of watch from afar as the winter sports kind of take over. Mm-hmm. But obviously, especially in small schools, it's so many of the same kids that are going from one sport to the next. Obviously, you hope that kind of wave of momentum can help at least early on in the seasons.
Yeah, I think it will, and we do have kids that are super active. So they're not only going into their basketball season, but of course we're still doing our 1X season, and they're just super busy. Just great active kids.
Well, Coach, it has been a whole lot of fun to be able to help share your guys' story with the Strive and, of course, with Strive
Hmm.
Sports. And we thank so much for everything that you've done for us, and we wish you the best of luck in the years to come.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks again to Coach Stutheit and the Johnson Brock Eagles and a fantastic year they had. And a great congratulations to all of our Strive schools who had such a wonderful year, especially there on the volleyball court. We are going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk football one last time. This is Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com.
I never really imagined that I would be a diesel technician. I started out in a whole different other field and then kind of worked my way and stumbled my way into it, and I enjoy every day of it.
The people that I work with are great. Even if you're having a bad day, you know, they find some way to try to make you laugh or smile to try to brighten your day up. It'll be a life-changing opportunity. So there's a lot of good things that this company has to offer.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
Home-cooked favorites and online ordering so you can skip the line. That's what you'll find at Dickey's Barbecue in York. Log on to Dickeys.com, select the York address, sign in, or create a profile, and you'll be ordering delicious barbecue in just seconds. Choose from a variety of meats like brisket, pulled pork, chicken breast, or sausage. Add a home-style side like waffle iron fries, fried onion tanglers, barbecue beans, and even fried okra. You won't go away hungry. Try Dickey's Barbecue today and log on to Dickeys.com. Kids eat free on Sundays. Seedsmanship is what truly sets Channel Seed apart from other seed brands. It's our unmatched ability to provide you with the expert advice and customized service that helps you get the most yield out of your acres. It's the added value of year-round service combined with elite seed products that you only get from Channel Seed. At Channel, we know the importance of staying connected. As seed experts, we look to get the most out of your fields by putting ourselves in them throughout the season. That's seedsmanship at work. Welcome back to Prep Huddle Live here on StriveSports.com. I'm Eric Allgood. We've got Tony Chapman in Grand Island. Tony, this year football was a ton of fun for us. We got to say a huge thank you to Channel Seed for allowing us the opportunity to expand our Game of the Week coverage and our schedule. And I think I can speak for Tony and Taylor and myself. It was a blast to be able to go and do the things that we got to do, especially during the regular season, Tony, because, we saw some great games, some great performances too.
Yeah, I mean, the regular season was fantastic to be able to do our Game of the Week series. We saw half of the state champions in that series. We got to see two other finalists in Millard West and Aurora. And so, yeah, it was just a lot of fun, even to see some non-Strive schools who were a part of that, to watch Columbus SCOTUS play, to watch Humphrey St. Francis play. That was really fun to be able to get around the state and see a lot of different games and a lot of different places that we'd never been to. It was a good time.
Okay, I'll ask you this, Tony. Favorite place to watch a game this year? Just our Game of the Week ones.
Oh, that's a hard one.
It is hard.
That is a hard one. I will contend. I will. The funnest game to be at was definitely Aurora, New York, the last game of the regular season. And Aurora is just a great facility over there. So while I did go to one of my favorite places, Duncan Field, while you were at Northwest one night, that was also fun for me to watch Sutton and Hastings St. Cecilia. But I'll say one that we were at together, I'd probably pick Aurora.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm sticking with it, and I'm going with the Riverside game that was in Spalding there at the fairgrounds. I have begun to sow the seeds of telling athletic directors, if you are in the process of developing a new press box and you want the ultimate camera angle, make your window, at least where the camera is, come to a point out in front of the rest of the press box. You will have perfect view. You don't have to worry about some kid, having to run into the side of the press box. It just works great. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Spalding, go to the fairgrounds, and ask Joe Imus to take you there and see what the Riverside Chargers did this year. In any event, now we get into the playoffs, and of course to our state championship games. We had 3 Striv schools that made it to the finals in their class. Bruning Davenport Shickley came home with the D1 crown. Aurora made it in Class B. Millard West in Class A. They would come up just short in their games. We'll start with the first of all, we want to play the post-game interviews that have been up on StrivSports.com that we had with that I had a chance to go with the BDS coaches Mark Roeder and Chris Artisono. As a setup, though, I'd like to point out that by the time they got to my interview, they had talked to literally every other media person, whether it was other TV crews or print media. They had talked to all of them first, so I couldn't really ask anything new that they hadn't just been asked probably 3 or 4 times right before. So Mark and Chris had a lot of fun with their interview. Check this out. All right, Eric Allgood for StrivSports.com. We've got Cale Kleinschmidt of the victorious BDS Eagles. Cale, it's a long season. It's a grind in a lot of ways. You get in a game where it seems like you guys kind of dominate things, and then Burwell would make some plays. What's it like on the sideline and in the huddle out there for you guys to go, you know what, we just got to make one more here right now?
It's just us winning the championship that bad. It's coming in. We got beat last year pretty good, and our mission all year has been to come back here and win it.
Earlier this year, Coach has said, actually a couple different times, Riley has said it, you guys really took that Hemingford loss to heart. It's been kind of a focus. How good does it feel right now, though?
It feels amazing. It feels really good.
When you look back maybe 5, 10, 20 years from now, what's the one thing that's going to stand out, maybe even more than getting a medal? Is there anything else that might stand out more than winning here at Memorial Stadium?
All the memories we made this year. We're a band of brothers, and we've been coming out here and grinding every day, and it's just real fun.
Hey, talk about your guys' offense is really unique. A lot of other teams are doing spread option or spread run or even they go kind of more power stuff. You guys go a little bit of everything, though.
Yeah, just got to mix it up. Sometimes feel like we can get people with the passing game. Some days the running game, like second half here, running game was there, so we went after it.
First half, you get a nice interception that stopped the drive. In fact, you guys as a defense came up with a couple of different stops that if Burwell gets scores early in the first half, you're thinking, man, this is maybe a totally different game at the end the way they went.
Yeah, defense just stood up. Our motto's been defense wins championship, so came through today. Defense won the championship.
Cale, congratulations.
Thank you.
Cale Kleinschmidt with the BDS Eagles, victorious over Burwell in the D1 championship. All right, we've got the victorious coaches of the BDS Eagles, and coaches, it's got to be sweet redemption from a game last year that was on your minds, well, for just about 365 days, I suppose, right? Yes, this is very casual how we do this. So, but talk about the response for the guys all year long and how they approached coming into the stadium again.
You know, the boys are the one that brought it up at the beginning of the season. You know, they're the ones they said, you remember the last time that we had pads on? You know, they're the ones that really wanted to redeem themselves, really wanted to get back here, and they knew how hard it was going to be, and they worked their butts off getting here.
And then obviously you got to go through an off-season workout. You got to go through the preseason and kind of go through the grind. And I think we talked about that. You know, it gets to be a little bit of a grind, and then you get the amplification. Okay, it's playoff time. It's we have that set goal, and week to week and game to game, they got to just step out there and perform. And a lot of different guys doing a lot of different things. Riley with the injury, kind of the cramp injury, I guess you might say, throughout the playoffs, kind of made you go to some different guys.
Yeah. Well, you know, we had a stretch where we were kind of handling people, and you know the games weren't real close, so they were really kind of looking forward to some real battles, you know, real tough games. You know, Guardian Angels and Creighton and this, you know, they were looking forward to having real tough, exciting games. You know, they're looking forward to the challenge of it.
I want to ask you, what's it like going to be like now to represent the different communities that make up BDS? Because obviously everyone's got a piece of this thing now.
I don't know. The heck. Communities are going to come together, and they're going to all have to get along and be happy. I don't know what else to say there.
Enjoy it. Who can't enjoy this?
Absolutely.
Nobody, yeah. Yep.
And talk about the defense. That's what now we want to actually talk about the game.
All right.
Defense in the first half. You make some critical stops. Kale gets an interception as they're kind of driving, get a huge stop. They have first and goal from just outside the 10. You're thinking, they might have 8 plays from about 10.5 yards to try to get it in, and you guys get them stopped on downs right there before the half. Defense, especially first half, was huge.
I think one thing that really helped us the first half is they struggled running the ball. And once he got it down inside there, I guess on that one he threw the ball and knowing he couldn't run. So comes down to the other end on another drive, tries to run. He didn't get it in. I don't know. That was our goal. Don't let them be able to run the ball.
And then big plays, I know, was a big part of any game plan, whether you're playing a state championship or not. You did such a good job in the first half. But Burwell, there's a reason they were in the championship because they made some big plays in the second half.
Well, part of that might have been with losing Riley. Hopefully that makes somewhat of a difference out there. We really get short on defensive backs when him or Kale. And, Ben wasn't 100% either. We were really against a good passing attack like they got, that it made it tough on us, and that's when they got some of those big plays.
And then
See how well Riley covered in the first half. He was all over those receivers. So, yeah, that really hurt us.
And offensively, Riley gets a big play pretty early on, and then it kind of seems like you guys make some plays but couldn't quite finish off some drives, and then finally Sam and John each catch a touchdown pass there towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, it was big when we stopped them and then had a drive all the way down. We really had momentum, and we dang near got one in before half, too. So, it was big going into halftime. We had a lot of energy and momentum.
Kale scores early on, kind of fourth quarter, about 8 minutes or so left. You guys are seemingly, I don't know if there's anything sort of comfortable until the clock officially hits zeros, but from a sideline perspective, it seems like, okay, here we are, couple touchdown lead, a little breathing room, and suddenly big play, and there it was.
It wasn't comfortable till we got that last one. That wasn't comfortable till we got that last one in.
But offensively then, the response after they get those two, it's 36-30. Now there's about, 4 minutes left. And to be able to grind the clock, and I think was the drive almost entirely Kale coming down the field on that play.
Nobody else. It had to be him. Yeah, it was very similar to the Creighton game, very similar to it.
Now, with all that everybody's talking about Kale, could be interesting how well the line blocked. There were some pretty decent holes through there. Everybody always talks about the specialties and running backs, quarterbacks. I think our line, did we win the line of scrimmage today? I don't know. It's always kind of interesting to know. That's a goal of ours, win that line of scrimmage.
It seemed like both offensive and defensive lines really kind of made the plays. That's from a studied opinion. That's all that is.
That's a goal of any coach, win the line of scrimmage.
Well, enjoy this one from whatever community you come from, right?
I'm from Bruning, but, it's a 3 community win.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's going to do it. BDS with a win over Burwell in the D1 state championship game. Like I said, it was a lot of fun with Chris and Mark, and obviously with Kale Kleinschmidt. We caught up with him after the game. Kale had himself a game, 29 carries, 218 yards. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground. Throwing it was 0 for 1 passing, but he didn't have to throw it. Riley Tegmeyer did throw it there in the first half. He was 11 of 20 for the game, 149 yards, a couple touchdowns, and Riley also had 19 carries for 64 yards and a score. But kind of the theme of the playoffs, unfortunately, for BDS had been, it seemed like Riley had trouble getting cramps in his legs and get to the point where he couldn't go on, and then Kale would kind of take over. Well, he kind of did just that in that second half, and Tony, it was a lot of fun to be down there and see that Burwell team that we thought was really going to be more of a ground and pound. They were able to take to the air. Victory Sykes threw for 275 to almost lead a comeback for Burwell, but BDS offensively proved to be too strong. They really leaned on their defense, though, throughout the year.
Yeah, you really look at that game. It was almost exactly like that Creighton game that they had in the semifinals where BDS got out to the big lead and then Burwell comes storming back. And then it was really just a great, last about, what would you say, about 16 minutes of football where it was basically a 1 to 2 possession game the whole time. And BDS pulled it out, really kind of using that modified Wildcat with Kale Kleinschmidt there in the backfield taking all of the snaps. That was a game where, BDS was ahead, but I don't know if they really ever felt comfortable because Burwell was always moving the ball. And in the first half, they got down inside the 10, I think, a couple times, and BDS held them. And then they were finally able to get some scoring drives put together and string it together with some stops and some turnovers to really make it a good football game. And, last year we had so many blowouts in the finals, and this year we just had a great set of final football games. All of them, really, with the exception of that David City Aquinas Oakland Craig game, were good all the way down to the end.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I tell you, I was so impressed, and I know that the coaches had mentioned it throughout the year that those guys really like to play defense, and they were not kidding about it. They really, you could tell Ben Elsnick was fantastic. Sometimes it seemed like first and second down he was kind of a linebacker. Third and long he'd kind of drop back to his safety, but the communication that those guys had, it was very easy to see why they got as far as they did. Everyone was very in sync. There really didn't have to be a ton of coaching from the sidelines, although I did find it interesting that there would be a defensive call between plays, and then right before the snap, a coach could yell something, and two guys would move, and it would completely change how the defense looked. I thought that was some brilliant coaching, and obviously for the kids, had to be very in tune with what was going on. So it was a lot of fun to be there and really kind of see it up close and personal there as BDS took the win over Burwell 44-30. Then later that same Monday night, Aurora and Elkhorn South in the Class B game, and Tony, this one was kind of a tale of two halves. Elkhorn South comes out first; they go right down the field and punch one in for a 6-0 lead, and then Aurora, Grant Fox threw the ball really, really well in that first half. I think I went back and looked and saw he was 10 of 16 passing in the first quarter. Really started to get things going. Preston Dibburn had 150 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing in the first half. But you got to play the second half, and it was right at the end of the first half on defense. Elkhorn South is trying to move the ball, and a block happens on the edge, and in the flow of the play, Gavin Rush ends up getting tangled up with his own teammate, actually. I think it was Hunter Holliday had gotten blocked and got blocked right into Gavin, and Gavin was unable to come back into the game, had a knee injury, spent the second half on the sidelines with a knee wrap and ice on his knee, and it just really changed the complexion of what Aurora could do offensively. They weren't able to get that same running game with Dibburn going, a little more pressure on Fox. He would throw a couple of interceptions, and it was a fantastic year and a fantastic game for Aurora. Elkhorn South in that second half, though, they got their offense going and just too much for Aurora to overcome.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it already. I mean, without Gavin Rush, Aurora wasn't able to consistently run the football in the second half, and that really ended up being the difference in the football game. Elkhorn South was able to wear them down. They play 20 guys basically. They've got just 2 guys that really go both ways, and one of those was Tanner Mayo, who I was extremely impressed with as a linebacker. I think he had 21 tackles in that football game, and somebody's going to get a good football player for him next year. It sounds like he's only got maybe some light Division II interest, which really just kind of blows my mind, to be honest with you. But you're right. Aurora really controlled the first half. Elkhorn South then got that late touchdown after Rush was injured, and then really controlled the second half. And they're really good. And as we saw in the Omaha World Herald, Stu Pospisil ends up ranking them 6th in the all-class rankings. And I really agree with them. I think Elkhorn South is a team that probably would have competed very well in Class A, even maybe got into probably that semifinal to quarterfinal round. So I think a well-deserved ranking for Elkhorn South.
Yeah, and then, of course, there was a guy that had a lot of hype coming into the game, and it was really in the second half that Elkhorn South started to lean on him a little bit more, but Moses Bryant had 20 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown there for the Storm, and he's just a sophomore, but, Tony, there's going to be a lot more talk about this kid for the next couple years.
Boy, he's really good. He's one of those guys that Nebraska needs to kind of land. He's a sophomore. He's just going to be a junior. He's an adopted kid from Sierra Leone in Africa. And so he's just a really good talent. He's got speed. He's got good vision. He can make guys miss. And so he's got the whole package in 2 more years to kind of hone his skills. It'll be interesting to see what happens in 2016 and 2017 for Mr. Bryant.
And I'll say this. I got to see Elkhorn South in their semifinal game against Scott, and then in the championship championship against Aurora. Scott and Aurora did a really nice job. Yeah, Bryant ended up with total numbers that weren't too bad, but he really had to kind of grind those numbers out. There wasn't the big play home run hitting type runs that he was able to rip off like he had been doing during the regular season. So credit to the defenses to make him earn it, but credit to Moses for getting it done when it counted there. Elkhorn South over Aurora 32-21 in that Class B championship. And then we get to Tuesday night, and it was the Class A championship. It was a rematch from Week 2 between Millard West and Millard North. Millard West wins in Week 2, 42-7. Tony, you and I were at that game, and I think we both stood on that field at Buell Stadium afterwards and kind of went, what did we really just see? Because it was a 1 versus 2 matchup in Class A, and nobody saw that score at 42-7 coming. But a closer game like 21-14, like we got in the championship game, is what everyone was expecting in Week 2. It just took a few more weeks, but we finally got there. And, boy, what a job for the Mustangs they did, keeping Millard West off balance through 3 quarters before their spark finally came in the 4th.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody tweet after that finals game, "Death taxes Fred Petito." Exactly right. You had Millard North who avenged both of their regular season losses in the playoffs, and they were preseason number 1. And I think those 3 teams, everybody thought when you look at Millard West and then Bellevue West, who Millard North beat in the state semifinals, were going to be the 3 teams who have a chance to win a championship, and it turned out that way. And the ball just didn't bounce right for Millard West, obviously, in the finals. And Millard North kind of took control early, and then kind of just rode that ground game, and then staved off a big comeback. What a comeback from Millard West! They kind of got their offense rolling a little bit, and that late pass near the end zone, I think they looked like they're trying to maybe lateral that to keep the ball alive, and they ended up in a fumble, and Millard North holding on for the 21-14 win.
Yeah, and I will credit something that that Coach Kirk Peterson mentioned during our state football preview podcast. Was that they didn't do anything different as far as the Millard North offense. But boy, Ethan Morrison, he didn't throw it often, but when he did, he was 8 for 9 for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in an offense where it is, as you've described it, it's 3 yards, 5 yards, 17 yards, 18 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards, 7 yards. If you throw in 8 of 9 passing, you are going to be really, really efficient. And Morrison was the that passing, I think, more than anything else, was really the key to get them down the field.
Well, yeah, it just keeps the defense on their toes when you've got to bring a safety up, and then you can hit a pass play over the top of that. The safety's got to stay back, and it opens up the run, and then just 9 passes, but all effective. And you're right, it really kind of kept Millard West kind of not playing as the aggressor on defense, I would say, and it allowed Millard North to have just enough offense to win that football game.
That being said, it comes to the 4th quarter, and Logan Anderjaska had been kind of kept off balance passing-wise, and then Shea Wyatt happens. He gets a big pass play down the sideline with just a ridiculously good catch, and credit to Taylor for getting some incredible photos of it. Caught it off he was like David Tyree, caught it off the top of his helmet, except Tyree just jumped up and caught it. Shea had to catch it on the run. So a few more bonus points there to Shea Wyatt. So that really got them going. Lallman would score after Millard North really rolled the dice there. They have a 4th and 1, go with a pitch play, and then they end up fumbling it, losing about 20 yards. Becomes 1st and goal for Millard West. Lallman would score, and then Millard West would get one more chance with like 30 seconds. And like you said, the very last pass play, Wyatt catches it on the 3, and in the fight and struggle to try to get into the end zone, ends up losing the football. But to give themselves the opportunity there really showed the kind of perseverance that Millard West had in that game. They just couldn't quite get something in early on in the game. You had to think that they probably dropped 2 touchdown passes in the first half. They missed a field goal. You got to think that if just 2 or 3 plays go differently in the first half, that second half is it's wide open for what could have happened in the rest of that game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just talk about a game of inches. Even, you talk about that Burwell game, they get stopped early. It just has so many little plays that kind of swing the game one way or the other. And you always call them in the regular season the interesting plays. Who wins those interesting plays? I think that's really what ended up happening in almost every one of those finals. You can point to one or two plays that were, just an inch away from being a big play for one side or the other. And the team that won those plays ended up winning the state championship games.
Well, Tony, we want to mention that we've got the highlight packages from all three of our state championship games on our YouTube page. Go to YouTube and search for Striv Sports, and you can find the highlight packages that we put together for our three state championship game teams, and of course the highlights and the coaching interviews, and along with Cale Kleinschmidt there for BDS, you can find their post-game interviews on our YouTube page. We also have them, just go to strivsports.com, scroll down a little ways, and you'll find the YouTube player of all of the different highlight packages that we put together. And the YouTube page itself is great. It's got them all sorted out by Game of the Week highlights and coaching interviews and feature interviews, all sorts of great stuff to check out on the YouTube page for Striv Sports. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and hopefully when we come back, we will talk with York girls basketball coach Matt Kern. That's coming up next on Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. Seedsmanship is what truly sets Channel Seed apart from other seed brands. It's our unmatched ability to provide you with the expert advice and customized service that helps you get the most yield out of your acres. It's the added value of year-round service combined with elite seed products that you only get from Channel Seed. At Channel, we know the importance of staying connected. As seed experts, we look to get the most out of your fields by putting ourselves in them throughout the season. That's seedsmanship at work. Home-cooked favorites and online ordering so you can skip the line. That's what you'll find at Dickey's Barbecue in York. Log on to dickeys.com, select the York address, sign in, or create a profile, and you'll be ordering delicious barbecue in just seconds. Choose from a variety of meats like brisket, pulled pork, chicken breast, or sausage. Add a home-style side like waffle iron fries, fried onion tanglers, barbecue beans, and even fried okra. You won't go away hungry. Try Dickey's Barbecue today and log on to dickeys.com. Kids eat free on Sundays.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
I love it. It's fun. It's a fun industry to be in. Meet lots of different people, do lots of different stuff. There's always something new happening, so.
So far I've been enjoying it since I've been here. It's been great, learning new stuff every day. I recommend anyone coming and work here because so far the working environment's friendly, everyone's kind, and also the new guys that come here, they will gain the confidence that they need just to come and work.
I like how everybody around here is, we all kind of become real good friends. It's like a second family here. It's not something you would come to just work for a month or two. It's something you'll want to stick with forever.
Well, we are back here on Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. I'm Eric Allgood. We've got Tony Chapman in Grand Island, and the basketball and wrestling seasons are about to be in full swing, for some even as early as tomorrow. We are joined right now on the Truck Center Company's hotline by York girls basketball coach Matt Kern. And Coach, thanks for sticking it out with us tonight. It's been an interesting night for us here at the studio, so thanks for coming on there this evening.
Eric, I appreciate it. You're doing a great job fighting through the technical issues.
Well, we do what we can sometimes. Coach, the off-season is always an interesting time for development. Individuals get better, teams get better, and I understand you guys had a great trip to Wyoming this off-season. Talk to us about that and kind of tell us what all transpired during that tournament season.
Yeah, it was a great summer. We had a great summer of workouts, team camps. We do it every summer, open gyms. Yeah, we took a trip to Wyoming. That was awesome. It culminated our summer in late June. There was a team camp out there. We had a chance to play teams from Colorado and Wyoming, the bigger schools, 4 and 5A schools out there, which are all bigger than us. And we did well. We went 7-1, competed in every game, obviously. And, the biggest thing for me, though, and I think for the team, was the chemistry that we developed in the team building and whatnot. And we stayed up in a cabin up in the mountains. And actually, my wife and I went down with our assistant coaches. We stayed in the lower level, and the girls stayed up in the top 2 levels of the cabin, and it was just awesome. Beautiful scenery, and we stayed up late, had a lot of good talks, talked about our goals, talked about life, and, those types of experiences, I think something I know I'll remember forever, and I think the girls the same.
I for some reason I have pictured in my mind Rocky going to Russia and training in the barn. It was nothing like that though, right?
No, it was interesting though, because I'd never been up to Laramie, Wyoming, and up into the mountains a little bit there. But yeah, it wasn't like that. It was warmer too, which was nice. But the mosquitoes are terrible. I will say that. But no, we walked around. We saw some great scenery. Took in Laramie and just played some ball. I actually didn't even have, my goal wasn't to go out and win every game or play real well. I knew we'd hope we'd play well, but my goal was to just get together and really talk about things for 3 nights, and that was pretty awesome.
Last season was obviously a great one for you guys with your team with no seniors. You still get the trip to state and make it all the way to the semifinals. What did that experience mean for this year's team and obviously with everyone coming back?
Yeah, and the girls talk about it. No one expected us to really do that well last year. We made the state tournament 2 years ago, lost a bunch of seniors, and we were not ranked in the preseason. We didn't get a lot of attention. We rolled off, 7, 8 wins in a row to start the season last year. It just kind of got going early. I knew we'd be good. I didn't think it'd be that fast, and because of that, obviously you get the momentum into this year. We got into the state tournament, won our district, and had some success. And now the girls are obviously very motivated by the taste that they've had the last couple of years, and we had a tough loss against Norris that we want to get back and do it again.
And as Tony is pointing out to me, you got the World Herald jinx this morning with the top ranking for Class B heading into the season. Surely that's no more pressure than you guys put on yourselves, though, than finishing at the top of the rankings is probably the top goal at the end of the year.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We talk about it all the time with the team. I'm trying to get the girls numb to it. We've got a lot of attention we've gotten recently because of the rankings. Obviously, World Herald threw us up there at number 1, which, again, the preseason means nothing, and the girls get that. But the reality is we've got the attention from somewhere. They've earned that. And we talk about how no matter what our ranking is, win, lose, or draw, we lose a couple games or win a couple games, they can rank us whatever they want. But the bottom line is every time we take the court, we're going to play as hard as we possibly can. Our effort will not change, no matter if the rankings change or not. We talk about it. The girls get it. The moms and dads love those rankings more than anybody, and that's I like to promote it. I love to talk about it with them. With the girls, however, they're probably getting tired of me talking about it. I just want it known to them. I don't think they need to worry about it.
Taking a real quick look at what was coming back from last year in Class B, has 9 of the 10 players who were named All-State last year graduate. So obviously there's going to be some new talent heading into the leading the class overall. There's no Maddie Simon or Kennedy Sander at Pius, no Kylie Holan at Norris. How does your team stack up individually with the rest of the talent in the state?
We return everyone basically. 11 girls back from a state tournament team. We've got girls that have been starting for a few years. I like our chances. I like our talent. I don't think if you ask most of the coaches around the state, there's one team that stands out like Pius did. But then again, it's early. You don't know. On paper, you don't know at this point. But, Emma Grenfell, obviously, returning. We had a great group of seniors. She's a 3-year starter at guard. Jordan Stearns, one of the most physical players in the state. She plays like a guy. If you've never seen her play, she'll knock you out. Lauren Horace is another starter senior who is an ultimate role player. She's a tough matchup because she's 5'11" and can play guard skills. And then Haley Burke's the other senior. She doesn't start, but she could. There's no doubt about it. We'll be rotating that possibly as the season goes on. She's a 6-foot post, so we use her, and she had a great summer. I'm telling you, she's underrated. People don't really pay attention to her, but she's as good as it gets on the block. And the other starter, obviously, is Tate Hansen, and she's committed her life to playing ball. She's been playing since I remember her in 3rd grade, going to her first club team tryout, watching her, scared out of her mind, and now she's just stone cold. She's got she's just stone cold. She is a great shot and just can play, and one of the best passers I've ever coached.
Talk about what's going to come up for your December schedule, and what leads you guys into the Christmas break as you get ready to get into the flow of everything again.
Yeah, we have Ralston tomorrow night. That's going to be a great matchup. They've got a Division I post player going to Cal State Northridge, 6'3", 6'4". She's big. She's a big girl. That'll be a tough one. But, the big game that I guess on paper that people will be circling at this point is Waverly and next Thursday. Hustle and Prep ranked them number 2, ranked us number 1. I'm sure that'll be a big attention grabber. I don't know what the World Herald had them, but I know they're in the top 10. They return a lot of girls, and they got the Boonda girl in the post. That's going to be a game that, we want to really push. I want to push that game and get, see if we can't get a big crowd in New York because that's girls basketball at its finest. 2 of the top teams in the state, and it'll be a fun atmosphere. And it's an early season game. Win or lose, it really doesn't mean much for the districts, but obviously you want to get out and compete and try to get the victory. But those are big games. Before Christmas, we don't play a ton of games. Some teams load theirs heavy in the early season. Ours are more in the January, February. But those are a couple matches. You have Aurora, the new coach there. They'll be a nice change team. They'll be tough. There's a few teams out there that are obviously going to have to be looking to get us with the bullseye on our back with that number 1 ranking.
It's a long season, obviously. How do you try to kind of ramp up the I don't know if expectations is the right word, but you can sometimes you see teams that can come out of in December and just play lights out, and then at some point in the year kind of a little bit of a lull sets in. How do you kind of try to manage the emotion of the season to try to make it build into February and March?
Yeah, and we try to take pride in that here. We feel like we peaked towards the end of the year every year in recent memory. Obviously, last year we lost right before districts, a couple games, and then boom, got hot during districts and started playing well. But that is a challenge, and every coach handles it differently. I try to have a good time. I try to stay loose early in the year, especially play a lot of girls, keeps their legs fresh. I don't know if I do it right, but it's just kind of what we do. We play a lot of. We'll do some fun games in practice. It's not always grinding them because we grind them enough as it is with all the defensive things that we do, the full court pressure. So we just try to keep it loose at times. We talk a lot. We'll sit down and chat about things. We played random games. We had scooter races last year. Things that the girls just get a kick out of. It just keeps it light enough where it's not monotonous to come to practice, where it's not like, oh, I got to do that. I haven't felt in the last few years that girls are just like, oh, I don't want to be there in February. It's they want to be there, and they know that the ultimate goal is to peak at the right time. I compare it to track and field. If you start running your hardest sprints and busting them up early in the season, you're just not going to have your best times during state. And we do the same thing. We do try to do the same thing with basketball.
Well, it should be a lot of fun, and I know a lot of your games are going to be on your Striv channel and different Striv channels, so lots of good opportunities to see the Dukes on their Striv channel. So, Coach Matt Kern, thanks so much for the time, and best of luck to you and the Lady Dukes coming up this season.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Thanks a lot for everything you guys do.
All right. Well, Tony, I think we're just about ready to kind of wrap things up then here on what's been a wacky Wednesday night. So I guess anything else that we need to talk about? I'm sure there's plenty more that we could go through. I know you wanted to hit on some of the ratings aside from York in the preseason here.
Well, gosh, we have 3 girls teams ranked number 1 in their respective classes, including York, who is number 1 in Class B, number 8 or number 9 all classes by the Omaha World Herald. Millard West is number 1. They'll bring back 4 starters from last year's team that lost in the first round of the state tournament to Omaha West Side. So Coach Mark Kruger has a nice nucleus back. Had a freshman point guard there, Lauren Rongish, last year, who will be kind of the glue for them, and then Phil Lammers, who plays inside for him and is going to play basketball next year at Concordia in Seward. So they've got a nice nucleus as well. And then out west, one of our favorites, Dundee County Stratton, their girls team with 2 All-Staters back in Nicole Kent and Aubrey Frederick. They are number 1 in Class D1 after losing to O'Neill St. Mary in the finals last year. St. Mary's has dropped down to Class D2, and so it'll be exciting to watch Dundee County Stratton this year, and an exciting list of teams that we have ranked in the girls' rankings. And then the boys' rankings will come out tomorrow, and we'll probably be able to talk a little more basketball when we come back on the 16th.
Yep. Our next show, like Tony just said, will be on December the 16th. We'll take next Wednesday off, and that will really kind of allow the winter sports to get into their seasons and some early storylines to start to develop. We, again, will talk with Burke Brown of Nebraska Prep Volleyball, of course. They're doing their first annual senior showcase. Again, we want to talk about that. That's coming up on Sunday, December 20th at Omaha Concordia High School, and Burke has got the rosters up on his website, NebraskaPrepVolleyball.com. He's been tweeting those out as well, so if you haven't seen your tweet come out, we'll make sure Burke knows what your Twitter address is, or handle, I guess is what it's called, right? So make sure you check that out, and it's been a remarkable fall season for us here at Striv. We've got new schools. We've had outstanding performances in the fall sports. So Tony, I'm can't wait to see what the winter sports season brings. I know I really got more interested just kind of following along with what you guys were doing with Striv during basketball last year. So I can't wait to see what this season brings.
Yeah, we'll do our best. It'll be fun. We got, all over the place. Great players up in Laurel, great players out in Bridgeport, great players in out west at Dundee County Stratton out there. And so it'll be fun. We'll be all over the state, and hopefully we can feature some of those athletes, do some videos, do some stories on them, and have a good time this year during the basketball season. It should be fun.
All right, I think with that, we will say good night for us here on Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. And join us again coming up in 2 weeks on December the 16th for the next edition. Good night, everyone.